Presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Wednesday, June 2nd. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you on this Wednesday as we are continuing on through the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Lots to break down. We've got an interesting show today where we've got obviously two games. We're going to talk Vegas, Colorado, game 2. We're going to talk Montreal, Winnipeg, but we haven't talked about that from an overall series perspective yet either. So we'll do like a series preview / game 1 preview hybrid of Winnipeg, Montreal, which of course gets underway tonight. Before we do that, though, we'll look back at the game last night. The Carolina Hurricanes now in a big hole against the defending Stanley Cup champions, a 2-0 series deficit, with the scene shifting to Tampa Bay on Thursday night, which is a good time to remind everybody, Ice Guys Betcast. We're looking forward to it. The latest Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Bruins Islanders game 3. Hurricanes Lightning game 3. So we're excited about that. 2 really good games tomorrow night on tap. So if you want to join us for the Betcast, send a DM to either me, Alex, the Ice Guys Twitter account, and we'll make sure we get you on the stream, on the feed with us on the show during that Betcast tomorrow night. Looking forward to that. But look, Carolina had lots of shots, but you could argue they weren't always high quality looks at the net last night. And what I'm seeing from Tampa Bay is the same commitment to defensive hockey that they really showed in the bubble last year, winning the Stanley Cup. It's everybody. I mean, the forwards are back checking. The forwards are blocking shots. I've lost count of how many shots in these playoffs, and especially the first 2 games of this series, guys, that Victor Hedman and Ryan McDonough on that Tampa Bay blue line have blocked in this series. They are just like they're walls. You know, they're basically like just flying down on the ice, trying to block every shot they can. Great sacrifice, doing what they can defensively in that regard. And the shots that do get to the net, guess who's taking care of them? Andrei Vasilevsky, who's been absolutely outstanding in the first 2 games of this series. And what's concerning for Carolina is, look, the Leafs are like saying, you guys are experiencing what we're experienced at the end of the Montreal series. We couldn't put the puck in the net. We couldn't finish our chances. And that's kind of what we're seeing here with Carolina. They need more out of, so he did score the 1 goal, Svechnikov. Prior to that, he'd been in a funk. Where's Teravainen gone? Aho's been quiet the last couple of games. These are the guys they need. And now even more so, you lost Niederreiter to injury in practice before the series began. And last night, Vincent Trocheck hobbling off the ice. And Rod Brindamore's early prognosis for him is not good, that Vinny Trocheck may not come back in this series. So there's definitely some issues for Carolina. That game didn't make me too happy. It was a dreadful one for me from a betting standpoint, as someone that had the over to Carolina team total, that bet Carolina for the series before game 2. It was tough to see that, but we'll have to wait and see. This is a team that's shown the ability to go on the road and win games, but the way Tampa Bay is playing right now, it's going to be an uphill battle right now for this Carolina Hurricanes team at this point in time. And we'll have to see if they can. It's all going to come down to whether they can find a way to puncture and get through this Tampa defense and the goaltending of Vasilevsky. That has been the problem in the first 2 games for the Hurricanes, and it's something that's going to have to change moving forward. Alex, we'll get your thoughts on last night with Tampa Bay taking a 2-0 series lead.
Yeah, just an ugly, gritty performance by Carolina in the sense of, like I said, you get a ton of shots, but they're not quality. Where you look on the flip side with Tampa Bay, 15 shots in total, but they were able to get 2 of them in. And like you said, the fact that they're blocking now, when you add those blue liners blocking, and then you got Vasilevsky playing at A level, it's going to be hard to get goals. And this is a really bad spot now for Carolina, completely blowing home ice. You're down 0-2, and you got to go into Tampa Bay's rink for games 3 and 4. This one might end up being a sweep, unfortunately. Like I said, someone who's also holding a Carolina series ticket is really disappointed to see that they couldn't, crack this fortress that is Vasilevsky and company on the blue line. So if Tampa Bay can get their offense rolling a little bit more in this, then they're going to be dangerous and prepped for the next round.
It's such a shame, too, because their defensive game, I think, has been good in this series, Carolina. They haven't given up a whole lot. They really haven't. And it's not like Tampa Bay's lighting up the scoreboard, but they haven't given up a lot. Unfortunately, that was a really bad goal in game 1 to give up by Alex Nedeljkovic, the Barclay Goodrow goal in that game. And they've just had those extra chances that they've capitalized on, and Carolina hasn't. It's been a razor-thin margin, but that's the difference in the series and in the first 2 games so far. We're happy to welcome back. Here he is. He's back with us, Jimmy Murphy, It's been a few days, but it's good to see him. Jimmy, this is your time. You have not been on this show for a few days. So talk about Carolina. Talk about what you're seeing with the Boston Bruins and the Islanders so far. If you want to say something about the disaster and the disgrace and the epic fail that is the Toronto Maple Leafs, go for it as well. But the floor is yours.
That's actually a good segue, because I don't want to actually talk about the Leafs, but I do want to talk about the team that beat them. And look, they made me eat a lot of crow. I gave up on them down the stretch there, and I vowed I'd never bet on them again. Well, I bet on them again, and they treated me nicely in Game 7. I have to confess, it was very nice. I bet on them before the game, in the game, and everything went well. So I thank the Montreal Canadiens, and I got to give them credit. I'm not going to put them by any means, and we can kind of link in the other series you guys were just talking about. I'm not putting them even close to the level of the Tampa Bay Lightning, but they are doing what the Tampa Bay Lightning are doing, or the Boston Bruins, or the New York Islanders, or a lot of the teams in the playoffs right now. And that's forgetting really about focusing on skill and finesse and just playing playoff hockey. It doesn't matter how you score them. Nobody remembers that in the playoffs. They just remember that you got the win, and they're buying into their coaches' systems. And the Montreal Canadiens did that. They got in and they realized, look, we got a goalie behind us that's out of this world, and he's been playing that way all series. It's time for us to reward him now, and it's time for us to buckle down. And they shut the big guns down on Toronto there. And you want to flip it over and talk a bit about Toronto and what went wrong. They need to look at what Tampa Bay does. I mean, Tampa Bay's got more talent than them. Tampa Bay is an amazing statistical analytics team, but at the same time, they don't give a shit about that right now. They care about what's most important. That's winning a Stanley Cup. And they're buying in, and they're playing boring New Jersey Devils mid-90s to early 2000s hockey right now, and it's working. You got a Broderick goalie in Vasilevsky right now, and then you've got that trap they're playing, and it's working right now. So that's how you win in the playoffs. The Canadiens figured it out and made an amazing comeback again. That's their third comeback from 3-1 in a decade. It's just an amazing story there. And, we'll get into it with them in the Jets series, and I'll give you my prediction then, but I like their chances.
No question. And that's a great point. We're seeing Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is not playing this high-flying hockey now, not in the least. They are dumbing it down. They're thinking goaltending, defense first, and just really protect the front of the net and protect the house. And that's shocking, especially since they got Stamkos and Kucherov back, where they're even more loaded for bear offensively, that they're actually really clamping down defensively. It's the return of the 90s New Jersey Devils with some of these teams. Montreal's played that. Winnipeg played that way, to be honest with you, in beating Edmonton. That's really what we've seen. We've seen a return to this. Yeah, and it can be a little bit boring at times for the viewer. There's no question. There were times last night, it was hard to stick with that Lightning Hurricanes game at times last night for someone that was really excited for this series. But look, I'm not going to say, shame on you. How dare you play this way because it's boring to me. You don't care about me. They don't care about me. They don't care about the fan entertainment standpoint. They care about winning, and they should. That's what the focus should be.
It's not boring? It's not boring, guys? That day you spend with Lord Stanley over the offseason. That is not a boring day, and I'll trade a bunch of boring hockey for that if I can get it.
Exactly. That's what they're thinking. Whatever way we need to play to win games, win a series, win a cup, they're going to do it. And the Tampa Bay's doing that. Montreal's doing that right now as well. Let's get a thought from Jimmy on the Bruins here, because it's 1-1 series. I thought they were this close away from putting a stranglehold on that series. They erased a 3-1 deficit. Felt like all the momentum was on their side. Tough break for Jeremy Lozon there at the blue line there at the end of that game. Results in the Casey Cizikas breakaway game-winning goal in overtime. And now it's 1-1, and all of a sudden Boston's one shot away from a stranglehold in that series, and instead the Islanders win, and now it's a split going back to Nassau, where it's going to be a nut house for the next two games. We know Boston's can win on the road. There's no issues there, but still 1-1 versus 2-0 going to Nassau. Big difference, but I'm happy. I thought a 7-game series was in the offing here. I still think that. I think Boston in 7, and I took the 7-game series prop, so I'm happy. But definitely a big swing toward the Islanders getting that Game 2 win, right, Jimmy?
Yeah, and they should. Speaking of grinding it out and showing some character. I mean, they had a gut check there. When they went down and early in the game, and then they come back, they take that lead, and then they blow that lead to win that in overtime after blowing that lead, like you said. That shows a lot of character to me, and that's why they are where they are. And of course, they've got a great coach. that oozes character and oozes leadership. So I think that helps a lot there with Barry Trotz behind the bench. But as far as the Bruins side of things, guys, I mean, it's pretty much what I thought, we were going to see. Like you just said, I expected 7 games. I expect a lot of lead swings. I expect a lot of momentum swings. It is what I thought, to quote Dennis Green, they are what we thought they were. I mean, this is what we knew we were getting into with this series. And I'll tell you guys, it was funny. I had a Bruins fan tweet to me the other day saying, oh, they stopped playing physical in game 2. I'm like, what the hell are you watching? They had 47 hits. The problem was the Islanders had 48. And it's just a rough game, back and forth, back and forth. This is like a heavyweight battle in boxing. They're going to keep swinging, like Rocky Balboa, going down fighting. That's how it's going to be in this series, guys. And both teams seem ready for it. So I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see the Bruins bounce back in game 3. But yeah, you mentioned it. The Coliseum will be a factor. I think in the past, the Bruins have done a great job. They play Montreal a lot in the playoffs over the last decade. They've done a solid job of sort of silencing and even feeding off the Bell Center crowd. They've kind of mastered that. But this is a different element, right? Because while you've got 19,000 fans screaming their lungs off against you in the Bell Center, and only say about 12,900, I think it is right now in Nassau Coliseum, these fans are more on top of you. It's an old arena. It's an old barn. You can hear everything. You can feel the building shake. You literally can. And that's going to be the difference there between, say, a rocking, MTS Center, a rocking Bell Center, or whatever arenas are left in the NHL right now. We know all those arenas are loud this time of year, but this is like going back in a time machine, guys, going back to the days of the Boston Garden or the old Chicago Stadium. And it's a different element. And, obviously the Islanders are more used to it than the Bruins. So I think that if there's a team that can feed off that, it is the Bruins, because Brad Marchand loves to get under the skin of the fans and kind of turn the fans against their own team. So we'll see how he is in this game, but it's going to be a battle. I mean, if I had to predict, you put a gun in my head right now, I'm going to say they'll split in Long Island too, and we'll go to game 5, tied at 2.
Absolutely. And it's going to be a good long series. Nobody needs to panic, neither fan base. Just enjoy the series.
It's fine for all those asking. The Boston media here and a lot of these fans, that's just the Tuukka haters trying to look for a reason to get Swayman in. It's really become pathetic that they just try. They reach at straws just to get him out of there, to blame everything on Tuukka. He had 35 saves the other night, and people are saying he stunk. I mean, what's wrong with people?
It's unbelievable. It's insane. It's like every Bruins loss now. Oh, Tuukka. I mean, it's ridiculous. You're right. I've seen that a lot. Every Bruins loss, there's, Tuukka's got to be better. Oh, Tuukka's not lost the game for us, and all kinds of nonsense like this. Every single time now, it seems the Bruins lose a game. Let's point the finger at Tuukka Rask. It's hard to fathom that.
You don't want to end up like Vegas, where all the Vegas fans were clamoring, at different parts of the first round. They're saying, "Oh, get Lehner." Well, look what happened when Lehner got in there.
And now they're clamoring here to get a kid in that's only played 10 games in the NHL and never played in the playoffs in his life. Yeah. I mean, I think this kid's going to be a stud. I've already raved about him here with you guys, but he's not there yet. Unless you have to get him in, you go with the all-time winningest goalie in the regular season in the playoffs for your franchise. I kind of thought that would be a no-brainer, but
yeah, it's pretty insane that the goalie's getting that much derision and that much flack from the fan base there. But absolutely.
They're liking your imitation there, your Bruins fans.
No, so the dumb Bruins fan. Oh, we lost this game. Oh, Tuukka Rask, he's stunking. Yeah, Tuukka's got to get the hell out of the net.
Oh, up.
Shut up already, all right? Give him the break. He's been with this
organization. There's a hashtag, too. I think it was Kevin Paul DuPont got it going in Boston. He hashtags anytime there's a mention of any goalie, not just Tuukka, any goalie in the NHL, he just goes, hashtag Tuukka's fault.
Yeah, 100, hashtag Tuukka's
just
fault.
To, poke fun at these idiots.
Yeah. So shut up. Just enjoy the playoffs. He's okay. Your goaltending's not an issue. It's not the problem right now. Relax. Take it easy. I agree with you there. Too much hate right there on Tuukka Rask, no question. All right, let's turn our attention to tonight. We got 2 games. We're going to do Montreal, Winnipeg first. We're going to do like a series and a game 1 preview. just the series in general, first of all, it's going to be very interesting. I think the thing that stands out to everybody in this series is the goaltending battle that this could be between Carey Price and Connor Hellebuck, two Vezina Trophy winners in the past. They are both obviously playing very well so far in the playoffs. It is going to be interesting to see how both of them fare in this series head-to-head. Hellebuck, there's a lot of people saying Hellebuck's got a lot to prove because he hasn't had a lot of playoff success. Well, he did get to a Western Conference final, a few years ago against Vegas. So he's been able to have some success. I know he got bounced by the Blues one year. Last year was an early exit against Calgary. But remember, Winnipeg suffered a ton of injuries in that series against Calgary, and that really impacted them negatively. He was very good against the Oilers. He was a huge part in them shutting down Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and the Oilers in that series. It's going to be a great matchup. I think the fascinating thing is, and I said this when I gave Montreal the praise for beating the Leafs, Phillip Danault's defensive checking in that series of Matthews and Marner was unreal. It was out of this world. And here's the problem, though, for him and for Montreal going into this series. Paul Maurice is doing something very smart. He's going to put Scheifele, Wheeler, on the top line there for the Winnipeg Jets in this series. And he's going to put Nikolai and Connor, and he's going to put Nikolai Ehlers on the second line for the Jets. And I love that because now it's pick your poison if you're Dominic Ducharme and you're Montreal. Who do you have Phillip Danault most concerned about? Obviously, I think they're going to put him up against the top line, Connor, Scheifele, and Wheeler. But you've got Ehlers, who I think has been every bit as good as those three forwards, if not better this season, on the second line. And that defensive matchup's going to be weaker for Montreal against him in particular. So I like what Maurice is doing. He's keeping Ehlers and Connor, who I think have been their top two forwards, start to finish this season on separate lines. That's good. It's going to force Montreal to make a decision. Who are we checking? Who are we putting Danault out to check against? Are we going to shut down Connor, Wheeler, Scheifele, or do we have to keep an eye maybe on Ehlers? And I think basically the way this series goes in terms of who's the most impactful forwards for the Winnipeg Jets is probably going to determine that going into this series. I think this is – I've been bothered big time by everybody saying Winnipeg is going to win this series. I really am, because I think Montreal – I get it. It kind of feels like Stanley Cup was won for the Montreal Canadiens, coming back to beat Toronto 3-1 down, winning that series in 7 when everybody had written them off in that series. But I have been impressed with their top 4 defensemen. Let's give them credit too. Edmondson, Petrie, Sherratt, and Weber, the big 4 defensemen for the Montreal Canadiens, played well, and they adopted this defensive checking mindset after Game 4. They figured if we're going to come back in this series, we've got to keep it tight, low scoring. That's exactly what they did. Play hard, tough-nosed hockey, get to the tough areas of the ice to score goals like a Corey Perry did with that power play goal in Game 7. That's the way it's going to have to be for Montreal in this series. And, of course, rely on Carey Price, who's been nothing but brilliant so far in these playoffs. I think Winnipeg's definitely got the deeper forward group up front. Here's the X factor for the Jets. I know I'm probably going to get Scheifele and Wheeler got going in the Edmonton series. Connor's excellent. Ehlers is excellent. What am I going to get from Pierre-Luc Dubois in this series? This is a guy that's got to raise and elevate. Simple as that. He didn't do a whole lot in that Edmonton series. He's going to have to do more for the Winnipeg Jets here in this series. I think Winnipeg's got the forward edge a little bit in terms of depth. Adam Lowry on a third line is outstanding. That third line's great, and Adam Lowry's that's a playoff performer right there. He does all the little things: face-offs, defense, penalty kill, physical. He's that perennial playoff player that you want on your team. And for the Jets, I think Montreal, I like their top 4, I think, is a little bit better than Winnipeg's, but I don't want to totally, write off Josh Morrissey. Neil Pionk has had a great season. I think Paul Maurice and that Jets coaching staff have done wonders with him. I think his game has improved so much this season, Neil Pionk, from when he was with the Rangers. Tucker Poolman is a solid defenseman. Logan Stanley, the big giraffe, the big cyclops, as I like to call him, on that blue line. He's gotten better as the season's progressed. Yeah, this Winnipeg team, we thought for the longest time, weak blue line, inexperienced, not very good, but they've gotten better. And when you shut down Edmonton, you're doing something right. You clearly are. And you have to give them credit. They've also bought into a defensive-minded style of play here in the playoffs. So this has the makings, guys. If we think of Winnipeg as for the years as an offensive juggernaut capable of lighting up the scoreboard, they're not playing that way right now here in the playoffs. They're playing low-scoring, tight checking. So is Montreal. I could see unders in this series from a total standpoint. As far as this series goes, I think it goes 6 or 7. I really do. I think this is not a pushover for Winnipeg. I think it's a close series. Here's how I'm attacking it. And now I'm going to segue into game 1 tonight. I love Winnipeg tonight. I do. Yeah, I'm not sure about the series, but I love them tonight. Look, this is the same thing we talked about with Colorado Vegas prior to game 1 there. Colorado's rested at home, fresh as a lily pad. Vegas is coming into town after a 7-game turnaround against Minnesota, 48 hours in the thin air and altitude. That made it worse. And the backup goalie in Robin Lehner. At least Montreal will have Price. It won't be in the thin air and altitude, but still, it's a 48-hour turnaround after you've just had this unbelievable comeback series win against your bitter rivals. And now you got to prepare on the fly for your next opponent. And I can't see this being a Montreal spot for their A game tonight against the Winnipeg Jets. I think it's going to be very difficult for them tonight. So here's what I'm doing. I'm on Winnipeg minus 130, minus 135 tonight in this game. It's now up to minus 140. There's been a lot of Winnipeg money. And there was someone in the chat who asked earlier, should Winnipeg be minus 140 in this game tonight? Yes. Yes, tonight they should. I think if they are this price in game 2, I think it's too high. But in this spot, with this situation that is clearly in favor of Winnipeg going into game 1 tonight, I think they deserve to be minus 140 favorites tonight. It is just a very, very significant situational advantage tonight for this Winnipeg Jets team. I think they'll take advantage of that. I like Winnipeg money line. I'm also going to sprinkle on the puck line. Minus 1.5. You can get that at plus 200 in this game tonight. I think the Jets could win by margin, kind of like we saw with Colorado against Vegas. This is definitely a Jets spot, and I think they come out and take game 1. However, if they win game 1 tonight, which I believe they will, I'm going to be maybe looking at Montreal adjusted series price. That is the way I'm going about this and get a better price at that point, because I think Montreal's in over their heads tonight, but I don't think they're out of this series by a long shot if they lose game 1 tonight. So the strategy is Winnipeg tonight for me, money line and puck line, and also looking at Montreal adjusted series price if they lose game 1 tonight. That is the way I'm going to be looking here for the Habs and the Jets. Alex, your thoughts on the series overall, Montreal, Winnipeg, and also game 1 tonight?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough, hard-fought series, like you guys have alluded to already, where both these teams are getting it done by playing more defensive-minded, possessing the puck, making sure teams don't get in odd man rushes and go against them in that fashion, slowing things down a bit. And I think we're going to see a lot of overtimes. J Stone 9 mentioned it in the chat about looking at the OT prop. I had it and really should have cashed that thing with the Toronto and Montreal game 1. If game 1 goes to OT, I would have hit that 3 exact. But if you shop around, you can find some books that'll have, how many games in the series will go to overtime, 0, 1, 2, and sometimes they'll have 3 exact, or you can have 3 or more. I'm going to take the 3 or more prop at plus 450. I think we're going to see a lot of close games that could end up being decided past 60 minutes of play. That would not shock me one bit. I think this will be a 6 or 7 game series, but I don't want to touch anyone as far as the side goes. Obviously, like I said, value would be to take Winnipeg game 1, which I love. I hammered that at minus $1.15. I thought the line should have opened at minus $1.35, $1.40. So I still like it at this price, but I loved it yesterday and jumped all over that. And then if you do want to go with a side for better value in the series, then that's when you jump in on Montreal. So if you like Winnipeg for the series, get that right now, because that's only going to go up if they win tonight. And if you like Montreal, I'd say wait, because it's definitely going to be a series that goes well past 5. So definitely be 6 or maybe even 7. So I'm going to go with the OT prop, 3 or more games at plus 450. And I love the Jets tonight. He said love them at 115, but I'll endorse them here at minus $1.40.
That's an amazing price. That's a Winnipeg. Alex didn't wait around because the minus 115s were not there for very long, and he jumped on that right away. And see that that's what I'm saying about the they did not factor in the situation. I think when they opened that line, minus 115, that's just raw power rating right there. That minus 115 number. They didn't factor in, situation. Winnipeg rested. Montreal off the 7-game series, beating their hated rival, coming back to do it. That this could be a really difficult spot here for Montreal. And I think it was the betting markets, it was the bettors that pushed this thing up as high as it is now to minus 135 to minus 140. So yeah, it's just going to be difficult to overcome it. Look, Carey Price is always a scary proposition right now with the way he's playing. Maybe he could stand on his head, steal it tonight, but he's going to need probably that kind of performance because this is a tough physical, mental, emotional spot for Montreal coming off what they just went through against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Jimmy, what's your thoughts? Series and game one here with Montreal Winnipeg.
Yeah, I mean, guys, I agree. I mean, this is a tough, tall task for the Canadiens. You could almost argue taller task than even in that series in a way, because I mean, you're prime for letdown right now. You're a human being. From what I know, they didn't go back to Montreal either, right? They flew through the night
right to Winnipeg after the Toronto win.
Obviously, I mean, that makes sense. But I mean, you're kind of on a whirlwind right now. It's like, really, if you think about it, you haven't been on a road trip sort of like that, where you flew out to another city after a game the same night in a while because of the whole division alignment and all that and the way things have been going. You didn't do that as much this year. So that plays a role. There's fatigue. There's emotional and physical letdown right now. That's why I don't say I like. I love the Jets in the first period for sure. But this Montreal team, there's something I've been noticing about them too, is how they can sort of kind of like I thought the Islanders did at times to the Bruins the other night. They can kind of trick you into a false sense of security. So I could see the Jets coming out and getting that 1-0 lead early. And if the Canadiens can hold it to 1-0 after one, I do think they have a good chance of coming back and winning the game. I'm not going to bet on the side. I'm going to stick to that first period, but I don't think it's a huge slam dunk that they lose this game, but I think, in probability they will. As far as the series goes, guys, I'm already on record. I went on Twitter today. The Montreal Canadiens in 5.
In 5, which means the only game they might lose is tonight in the mind of Jimmy Murphy, game 1. So that's bold. But hey, Montreal has been doubted before. I'm not doubting them for the series this time around. I doubted them in the series against Toronto. But look, if they can take down Toronto, they can take it. But the thing is, here's the thing, though. Winnipeg is much mentally stronger than this Toronto Maple Leafs team. There's no question. They are not the mental midgets. They're not the weaklings. They're not the, whoa, something's gone wrong for us during a game. We're just going to curl into the fetal position, suck our thumb, and go home. Yeah. That's not going to be the Jets. Yeah, they're
way more balanced, and that's why they beat the Edmonton Oilers. That's why they swept them. They're not top heavy like the Oilers or Leafs. So I agree with you. I mean, this is a much taller task. This team too is just, they're sort of that playoff mold, the way they're built on paper. They didn't really look that way down the stretch, but then again, neither do Canadians. So what does that mean? You throw all that out the door, I guess. I know we were talking about that a lot as we approach the playoffs, and so far the Canadiens and Jets have kind of thrown that theory out the door that, you want momentum going in. I didn't see momentum with them. I mean, they looked like they were down and out. And Paul Maurice, people were talking about firing him. Ducharme, you didn't know if he was coming. I mean, what a difference both teams have been in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul Maurice and Dominic Ducharme getting flack. Everybody's silenced right now with these two teams being in the North Division final. And I'll say this about Montreal. And I said this yesterday. Jimmy, you weren't with us yesterday, but I'll say it again here. Let's not forget, a lot of us thought Montreal could make a run in the playoffs before the season started. Right. And a lot of us thought Montreal could be a Stanley Cup contender. And we all got soured from that opinion, and we all gave up on them because the regular season for them was just so disappointing. And they underachieved so greatly in the regular season.
Quick button,
But yeah, they hit the reset button.
Yeah.
Maybe part of that was Toronto just completely pissed it away, which is part of it. I get that. But give Montreal credit. They didn't go away. Came back, won that series. Maybe now they're morphing into that dangerous playoff team that kind of a lot of us thought they could be before the season started. The only reason we stopped believing that is because the regular season was just so damn mediocre and disappointing for them. We all got sour on Montreal. We all just all of a sudden kind of gave up on them a little bit. And now here they are trying to make a run.
Did they both go through? I'm pretty sure they both went through COVID shutdowns, right? At one point.
Montreal did for a bit.
Yeah. Montreal. Did the Jets too? I think the Jets did.
I think it was more because of Vancouver and the other teams.
Right,
Okay,
they lost a bunch of games.
Actually, Winnipeg did have a brief one. They did, but brief.
Okay,
very brief. Yeah.
But I think, that maybe it's that, or as we were saying, just really sucking down the stretch, I think ironically may have bonded these guys together. And the way they came out of the adversity, maybe when they realized we're going to make the playoffs, we made it through that. I mean, let's face it, guys. Both teams, me included, everyone had them written off. I mean, they were like, these teams are done. They're dead in the water. I mean, and it looked that way. No, you can't blame anyone for thinking that. But I'm wondering, did that make them stronger? And I know that's it sounds kind of cheesy and everything, but it might be true.
Exactly. Everybody thought Toronto versus Edmonton is what we'd be seeing starting game 1 tonight. Leafs and Oilers. That was going to be your North Division final, the great McDavid versus Matthews matchup. Two guys that did absolutely nothing in the series for both of those respective teams. And like I said on Twitter too yesterday, how funny is it that a lot of people think among, I won't say the top 3 players in the NHL, because there's other guys that deserve consideration. Crosby still deserves consideration. Kane, the way he played this year, deserves consideration. But among the top 3, and a lot of people have them in some orders, their top 3, Matthews, McKinnon, and McDavid. And yet who's the one guy that's still playing? Who's the one guy that's produced in the playoffs in big spots?
Why?
The great McKinnon. Absolutely. For the Colorado Avalanche. So I think his stock's rising a little bit, at least in terms of getting it done at postseason.
That salary has to be one of, if not the biggest steals. I'd say between him and David Pastrnak, those are the 2 biggest steals in the NHL. Actually, maybe not. I mean, Marchand's pretty cheap too. So
yeah, no question. I'm jumping on that Winnipeg first period as well. I didn't make it official. I mentioned full game money line and the -1.5 plus 200 on the puck line. The first period could be the greatest edge for sure.
I forgot you guys. I'll take the under as well. Under for the total.
It should be an under series. I agree. I think it's going to be very, that's all Montreal played down the stretch. When Montreal when they adjusted their style, game 5, they said, we just got to tighten it up big time and make this a tight checking, no room to operate series for the Leafs. And that's when the series turned in favor of the Montreal Canadiens. So, they're going to bring that same kind of style to this series. So, yeah, and with 2 great goalies right now, it's going to be, I think, probably a low-scoring series. So I wouldn't talk anyone out of the under as well.
And just a quick note, as I'm flipping and looking to my live odds screen, money's still pouring in now on Winnipeg. So if you like it, don't hesitate because it's going up. I'm seeing 143, 145 at a lot of shops. So that's going, it's moving, and it's nothing but jet money.
Yeah, people are seeing this situation as clearly advantage Winnipeg. But again, if Winnipeg's got, this is a big game for Winnipeg now. You got to win it. This is your spot. You got the huge advantage here. Get the job done, because you lose tonight, and it's at home as well. You lose tonight, and all of a sudden it's a big advantage swing to Montreal in this series, because this is obviously that spot where it favors the Jets significantly situationally and schedule-wise, and we'll see if they can get the job done, because this is exactly what Colorado had the situation on their side against Vegas in game 1 over the weekend, and we saw they took advantage of it in a very big way. We'll see if Winnipeg can as well tonight in game 1 against the Habs. All right, speaking of Vegas, Colorado, game 2 of that series tonight. Vegas, Colorado, we've got the Avs approaching -200 now. Home favorites in this game. The total 5.5 even money in this one. Look, there is no question in my mind that this series is not over yet. No, it's game 1 was ugly as hell for Vegas. That was just, good luck. 48-hour turnaround after beating Minnesota in game 7. It was also their 5th straight game traveling between games. After game 4 in Minnesota, they go back to Vegas for game 5, Minnesota for game 6, Vegas for game 7, Colorado for game 1, and thin air, high altitude, backup goalie. And it was just the perfect spot for them to get romped, and that's exactly what happened in game 1.
Boring. He screwed up pretty bad too. I mean,
yeah, he rolled the dice and he crapped out. That's exactly what happened.
It was just dumb. That's it.
Yeah, he did. I know you want to get Fleury rest. He's in his late 30s. I get it. 7 games, short turnaround. But I don't think you want to piss away games in a Stanley Cup playoff series. You just don't want to do that. And that to me is it's kind of like you said, you know what? We'll take the L here. What kind of mindset is that? We'll take the L here in game 1.
Like Brad Stevens with the Celtics. That's all.
Yeah, we'll take the L here. And that's exactly what ended up happening the other night. And look, it wasn't all on Leonard. They had no gas in the tank. They were not winning any puck battles. They weren't winning any races to loose pucks throughout that game. Colorado had the puck the whole night. That's been to Colorado a lot lately, where they've had the puck most of the game and their opponent has not. And that is why this team is so good. And it's their blue line can pinch at the blue line, get back in position and get the puck back quickly and then keep it from you for a long period of time. That is why they're so special. Nathan MacKinnon, a highlight reel goal the other night, 6-1, made Nick Hague, left him in his dust in the neutral zone. That whole top line of McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog was terrific. They're getting their depth forward, stepping up Donskoy, Burakovsky, Jost. They're getting some depth scoring a little bit as well. The blue line's outstanding. Philip Grubauer's rock solid. There's a lot to like. Now, this is still not over this series. Vegas will be a lot better tonight. I'm confident of that. Vegas will be a lot better tonight. The 2 full days of rest is big for them because remember, this is Sunday to Wednesday. So this is 2 days off for them. They're going to be much fresher, much rested. They're going to have Marc-Andre Fleury back in net tonight. This will be a much better Vegas team tonight, no doubt about that. That being said, I still don't know if they're winning this game tonight because I just think Colorado is at that kind of level right now where they're just dominating, they're rolling, they're controlling games for the majority, game in and game out. And I don't know if that's going to change tonight. What I'm going to do is I'm not involved in the full game money line in terms of the side. What I am going to look at here is the over 5.5, minus 110 for the full game, because I just think Vegas is still going to struggle to defend Colorado. But the best look for me in this game is just it has not failed. It has not failed to cash yet in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and that is betting Colorado team total over 3.5. And you can get that at plus 115 tonight. Colorado team total over 3.5. They have scored 4 or more goals in all 5 Stanley Cup playoff games that they've played so far. All 4 games against St. Louis, game 1 against Vegas. In fact, they've actually scored 4 or more goals in their last 7 games overall, dating back to the regular season. So you're going to give me Colorado's team total over 3.5 at a plus price. That is not a bet I am passing up. Not at all. I mean, and that way I don't have to worry about will they win the game. Because I think Vegas will be better offensively, especially tonight. But I'm pretty darn confident Colorado can do what they've been doing all playoffs long, and that's at least getting to 4 goals in a playoff game. So I like the over full game, 5.5. I like Colorado team total over 3.5, plus 115. Those are my 2 bets for Vegas, Colorado, game 2 tonight, pregame. Alex, what's your thoughts here? Game 2, Vegas, Colorado.
Yeah, I was kind of critical as well as everybody else with, the choice of putting Leonard in net for game 1 for Vegas. But when you look at it, like I said, the situation of them, coming off just only a day of rest after an emotional series, and then also let's give them the fact that they're going into altitude as well. Even if Fleury starts that game, I think he probably has a rough night and ends up giving up 4 or 5 goals. This is a Colorado offense that is just absolutely out of its mind right now. Like I said, they could put 4 or 5 goals on anybody in the world at this moment. So, kind of wonder, okay, keep, Fleury fresh and, get him ready for the rest of the series. And now with the time being a bit more balanced. And I think we will see a more competitive Vegas side tonight. But this Colorado team, like I said, it's just hard to ignore how well they're playing offensively. I like that team total as well. I got it plus 110 over 3.5. And I also like the first period over here. You can get that laying $1.10 over 1.5. I think we're going to see some offense going both ways. I think Vegas is going to have a lot of energy going early. I wouldn't be shocked to see them even score first potentially, and then Colorado bouncing back to tie it up. So that's where I'm going with the first period over, and I'm going with Colorado team total over.
All right, so first period over for Alex, 1.5, as well as that Colorado team total over 3.5, plus 110, plus 115 in most spots. Shop around for that. Jimmy, what do you like here? Golden Knights Avs game 2.
I mean, we got to keep riding Alex's first period overs, man. They've been lit ever since I joined this show. So I'm going with that. And I'm gonna take the Jimmy puck line on the Avs tonight. I just sense that start really. I think that screwed them up mentally big time. Not starting Fleury. That team was riding that goalie. They love him. He's a Vezina finalist right now. Look, you want to do load management, you do it in a regular season. And if you notice, DeBoer didn't do that. I thought he rode Fleury a little too much during. At times he didn't have a choice, I know, but I thought he rode him too much at times during the regular season, and that's why he's paying the price now. So just horrible coaching, and that's going to lead to a 2-goal or more win for the Colorado Avalanche.
All right, Jimmy, puck line here. Colorado Avalanche -1.5 here.
And the first period over.
And the first period over as well, 1.5 for Jimmy in this one. That's the problem. I know Vegas will be a lot better. This will be a much more competitive game. This will be a much tighter game, no question, in terms of the margin. But I just don't know if they're right now, Vegas, Colorado's at a scary level right now. Like an absolutely scary level. So scary that I have no interest stepping in front of them anytime soon. They are that dangerous. They are that. How are you going to beat this team when they have the puck on their stick for 90% of the game? And that's what we're seeing right now. Like you can't win if you don't have the puck. And if you don't have the puck, you can't score. And if you can't score, you can't win. So it all goes hand in hand right now. That's the issue. And I thought maybe this was just a St. Louis thing, where they just, St. Louis barely had the puck, barely touched it in that series. Yeah. But it happened again in game 1 of this series against Vegas. Now, the caveat to that is Vegas in a brutal spot, worn down, tired, 48-hour turnaround after 7 games with Minnesota for game 1. This is where we gauge truly if we have a series on our hands tonight. How does Vegas play tonight? Because now they should be in a better position to handle Colorado or play with them. But doesn't mean that automatically they're going to get the job done tonight. They've still got to show that they could keep the puck, possess it, get chances off it, and ultimately finish. And look, finishing has been a problem in a couple of games as well for the Vegas Golden Knights. So this is a fascinating game. Like, Vegas will be better, but are they going to be – there's a difference between they're going to be better and they're going to win the game against this dominant Colorado team right now, or they're going to be better, but they're still going to lose by 2 goals or something like that. That's the problem. They are going to be better, but I'm not sure about that. I don't know if this is just, Vegas is going to be better. They're going to win and tie the series tonight. This could be just, they're going to be better. Yeah, but they're still going to lose the game. That's what I worry about. That is how good the Colorado Avalanche are right now. A scary, scary group. We'll see if they can stay undefeated as well in the playoffs. 5-0 in the postseason heading into game 2 tonight. All right, great analysis from Alex and Jimmy. We'll get to best bets in just a second. Before we do that, a reminder, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN. It's a great time of year. NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, baseball daily, all that and more. So when you download DraftKings, sign up for an account, you'll get bet boosts, deposit bonuses, weekly specials, weekly incentives. So make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, and use the promo code THPN. All right, it is time for best bets for this Wednesday card. Alex, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet tonight?
Going with the Winnipeg Jets money line. Like I said, I loved it more, obviously, at a cheaper price. But even here at this -140, this is kind of my threshold level of, cutoff point. Anything past 150, you're going to have to maybe scale it down a half a unit. But I like this one enough here. I think the Jets get it done. That rest over rust theory, I think we're going to see the rest of the team come out hot and heavy. So Winnipeg Jets on the money line, that's my best bet.
All right, Winnipeg Jets -140 against the Montreal Canadiens. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. Jimmy Murphy back with us. What do you like for best bet?
I'm going Rocky Mountain High, man. Give me the Colorado Avalanche on the puck line.
All right, Avs puck line -1.5 for Jimmy, his best bet. Mine is going to be Colorado, but team total over 3.5 plus 115 is what I bet. There's plus 110 mostly now, but still a plus price everywhere. Great number. I think they get 4 goals. They've gotten 4 goals in all 5 playoff games so far, at least 4 goals and at least 4 goals in 7 straight dating back to the regular season. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Avs team totals, I've had a bunch of them already. We'll hopefully add one more to the winning ledger tonight. Colorado Avalanche team total over 3.5 plus 115 for my best bet for this Wednesday night. And that'll wrap up this edition of the show. Reminder, the Ice Guys Betcast tomorrow night, Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Bruins Islanders game 3, Hurricanes Lightning game 3. Looking forward to it tomorrow night with the Betcast. I've already got some people that have sent their DM along saying we want to be on the show. So looking like we might have a pretty good turnout. Think of the first one we had. It might be that busy tomorrow night during the Betcast. So join us for that. Thursday night, the Ice Guys' latest Stanley Cup playoffs betcast. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live on YouTube 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeart. For Alex B. Smith and Jimmy Murphy, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.